Welcome back to Executive Production on Base with CY. Today is Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. I'm Sweets. This is CY. This is Luciano. And down in the bottom right corner, we have Matt Lee. Today we have a full house. The main focus of our call today is on FarCon Rome, the dates of which I believe is in 2 weeks or this coming week. And Kismet Casa, who has historically built on Zora, has no longer been able to really publish the art on the Zora platform as they've pivoted over to Coins. And so we've been talking with Luciano, Leia, and Kismet Casa for a few months. And now with FarCon Rome, they've built their own client on top of InProcess. Matt Lee in the bottom right has built a client on top of InProcess for music focused. So two different builders of clients, one focused on their community of Kismet Casa and another focused on a specific content type of audio. The main focus of today's call is going to be on Luciano and Kismet Casa, with supporting actors, Matt Lee talking about the radio and FarCon Rome wherever possible. Kicking it over to Luciano, do you want to talk about what has inspired you to build a client on InProcess and what your goals are going into FarCon Rome?
100%. I'll start by saying Kismet Casa was started by Leia and I back in 2023. We decided that artists and developers needed a place to build together, and we've been building residencies ever since around that concept. Sweetman, of course, has participated, and actually, I happen to be wearing the shirt from Energy House. Let me see if I can get it on the back, but I'll show later. But I have the original shirt that's where Sweetman participated in our house in Buenos Aires, and ever since then we've been a very collaborative bunch. And then Sweetman, after Zora pivoted to Coins, let us know that he had forked original Zora that we all know and love, that the artists know and love. And we decided to support and to build a client on top because we need to go back to what works for the artists, and going back to the foundation is the first place. I think Matt Lee also respects this decision very well because he's been building Tortoise for a very long time now, which is a NFT platform for artists to be able to mint their work. And this is why we actually invited Matt Lee to FarCon Rome to participate in our residency, to work with Duodo and the other musicians in the house to mint their work on Matt's platform. Not only just to mint on Matt's platform, but also Matt has been creating the music that they'll be producing live at FarCon alongside the artists and musicians. So it's a really pivotal time, in my opinion, to be showcasing some of these important use cases, especially around art and music, and we'll talk a little bit more throughout this call, a little bit more about the InProcess client that we're building and why it's important to us. But that is the general gist.
What are your guys' goals going into FarCon Rome? I know that you guys have been kind of core to organizing it. So what, from your perspective or from Kismet Casa's perspective, what is your goal or where do you want to arrive at the end of FarCon Rome? It's in 2 weeks?
Yes, so the artist will be coming to Rome on the 26th. So we'll be starting in a couple days now, and they'll be producing work together leading up to FarCon. So of course, all of the artists have started collaborating. Leia's been putting in a lot of work to make sure that what we're producing there will be going off without a hitch. And right now, it's really important for us to ensure that all of the artists get there on time, all of the collaborations are going smoothly, and then the productions are ready for May 4th and May 5th, the main events of FarCon. And so we can go through a little bit about what that is really quickly. The first thing that we're going to be doing is an art auction. And so the artists that will be working in the house are going to be producing physical artwork that will be auctioning off at FarCon using Max Jackson's crypto art auction platform, which is also a mini app. For a little bit more context, Matt Lee worked with several of our artists at our last Kismet Casa and Dev Connect, where we saw you again, Sweet Man, and he built several mini apps alongside some of the other developers working with the artists. Built several mini apps to experience and showcase some of the work that not only the artists produced in the house, but some of the work that the artists have been producing in general. And then, of course, Duodo just created a mini app for for her production. And these are the type of experiences that we want to continue to support. And that's why we're supporting Max Jackson's crypto art auction platform for this art auctions experience specifically. And then outside of that, we're also going to be doing the live musical performance, which I talked a little bit about before, where Matt Lee and Duodo and some of our other residents are participating to create work together and showcase that work live at FarCon. We also have one more special event that we're not going to share too much about. Maybe if Leia wants to share more about that later he will. And then the one other thing we can share is the closing party, which we're currently organizing, hopefully alongside Nouns, but we'll see how it ends up panning out. And those are the actual productions that we'll be doing at FarCon and the FarCon main events. We have one more open studio day right before FarCon, where the artists are going to be in an open space at Ube and collaborating alongside the community or anyone that wants to join in. So we're trying to make this as open as possible for more artists to be able to participate, more folks around the FarCon ecosystem to be able to understand exactly what the process is and what it means to produce this kind of content. I think you asked me before, Sweet Man, like what is the main goal? What's really special to us is to hopefully not only showcase the process of each of these artists, but to show the Farcaster community at FarCon what it means to produce real art, real culture in real life. Now, at the past FarCons, it's really about bringing URL to IRL, and we want to bring more than just people. To us, it's really important to show, like I said, not only how to produce these sorts of initiatives, but also how to actually bring them to people in a way that they'll love, share, and experience. And hopefully, people will remember this moment for the rest of their lives.
And now, for the Kismet Casa client, is that something related to FarCon Rome, or is it unrelated something? How does the Kismet Casa client on In Process tie into FarCon Rome,
Oh,
or does it not?
it's very related in the sense of so our Kismet Casa client is going to be absolutely pivotal to the work that we've been doing. Of course, every time that we run a residency, not only do the artists post their art on Zora, but we also post all of the the retrospectives, the recap videos, everything that we do as well on Zora. And we now need a new home for all of these things. So not only is there going to be work produced at the house that is going to be on this client on In Process, but also any of the recap videos, any of the content that we produce around it, we also need to mint that on chain. So it's going to be a bit of a double whammy where the artists that we work with will have them put some of their work on chain. Sometimes the art that they produce is totally outside of things that we've already organized. You know, it's very likely and it's very common in past houses where artists just happen to be creating something sort of unrelated to the main productions, and they also need a place to put that as well. So not only will we have a way for the artist to relate some of the work that they do to In Process in regards to the main production, but I'm sure they'll also be producing some things that will be going on our Kismet Casa client outside of that.
And what's the state of it right now? I've seen that you guys have a template repository for a template client that you built, as well as the official Kismet client. Have you guys deployed it? Have you guys tested it? Is it ready for FarCon Rome, or what are the steps, or what's missing between today and what you need to go live on FarCon Rome so that the artists can produce on the Kismet client and you guys can release the retro videos and in the Kismet more meta level content on the Kismet client?
Great question. Yeah, I've been testing locally, and it's looking really good. I've just been adding more functionality to the UI, and been working with Leia to determine exactly what that looks like. Thankfully, I haven't deployed to Vercel yet. I still will be deploying to Vercel, but you know, I took a couple more days because I need to first fix the Arweave integration, and as soon as I add some money to Turbo and have the product in line with the new Arweave implementation, then can deploy to Vercel and we'll be live. So shouldn't take more. I mean, it could take a couple days, but I'll say it'll probably take about a week for Leigh and I to go back and forth on some of the UI and functionality, and then we'll be deploying right thereafter. I can actually share my screen and show what the current state is on the local host if you'd like.
Do it.
All right, I'm just going to share my entire screen here. Can you guys see?
Yep, we got your screen on the Jumbotron.
All right, it's localhost, so it's a little slow, so just give it a little time. And then here is our new mint. So we've already added a way to create collections, actually. And then in theory, what will happen is very similar to the old Zora, where people can decide who the royalty recipient is, who the authorized minters are of that collection. And then I also created a secondary market so we can enforce royalties. Now, it's really important for the artists that we work with to enforce royalties on the secondary market. So my thesis is that it's likely that most artists will coalesce around this specific secondary market because this is where they know that royalties will be enforced. So the idea is to create the perfect platform for artists because artists are the ones that bring their collectors. So, and as much as we want to cater to collectors as well, we first want to cater to artists, and then we'll work from there. So the only thing we've added that's not in process, I believe, is revenue splits to the mint. And then if you create a collection, you'll have the ability to create a collection here. And then once I get Arweave loaded up, then we'll have the minting functionality. So, and that's pretty much it. And we'll be adding a little bit.
I think he closed the stream tab instead of just closing the demo. I bet he'll be back in a second. Leia, do you have anything to add? I know you kind of jumped in halfway through and you might be up to something else, but do you have anything you want to add while we're waiting for Luciano to come back about what you guys are building on the Kismet client side?
Well, Luciano was more working on the client. Is all the work is from Luciano, but I am more about the strategy and how we are gonna start like spreading the use of our platform and in process protocol. So for me, I'm gonna take care of what is like the interface, the UX UI, and start to talk with the artists also how they feel. Start testing the platform and start hearing what the artists and start to collecting feedback about it. Once we have more or less that set it up, I can start thinking, like going bigger and start inviting more communities. I really want to start making Neutro or Música W3 or other El Bosque Gracias, for example, to use this platform that they can rely on.
Cool. Luciano, welcome back. I think you dropped for a couple seconds. What do you need from us? What blockers do you have? What support can we provide? FarCon Rome is in less than 2 weeks. You guys are starting on the 26th, so in 5 days. How can our internal team be helpful to you so that you feel calm and confident that your Kismet client is ready for everything you need?
Great question. I'd say the only thing is helping us in terms of like the Arweave side. Like if there's more implementation changes, just let us know so we can update around there. I didn't realize how difficult it would be for me to get Arweave just living in or like being a New York resident. So that was an initial problem, but now being able to fund through Turbo, it shouldn't be an issue. So I'll let you know if I run into any issues there. But my thinking is and let me know what you think about this, sweet man, is the idea right now is to make Kismet Casa the referral, so that way we can use any of the referral funds to pay the Arweave costs. And I wanted to ask you if you think this is a sustainable way to start managing the platform.
We left the referral funds in there as a field because that was what Zora had. The fees only work if fees are turned on. And currently on the in-process protocol, we have fees set to 0. So you can fill a value into referral fee, but 100% of what the collector pays goes to the artist. So the only thing that putting in the referral fee does is it emits an event on chain so people can filter on chain events and delegate it to you. But putting in your Kismet Casa as the referral fee does not earn you any funds.
Okay,
The
I wanted to ask you about that because I did know that you said it was set to 0, which obviously isn't a problem to us, but that was just a thought that I had.
I think Matt is leading the first implementation of earning a fee on top of in process. I don't know if you've thought about it more. We just talked about it yesterday, Matt, but this
This
is
is
the
a good
second
segue.
time that someone's kind of bringing it up is people that build on top of in process want to be able to accrue fees. And one of the reasons we wanted the protocol level of in process to be without fees is so that builders like Matt, builders like Kismet Casa, if they want to build a fee on top, they can build their fee on top and not have to worry about thinking about, okay, well, if in process gets a fee, we also get a fee. How are we talking to our artists? The conversation becomes much simpler of in process doesn't take any fees. If Tortoise decides to build a fee on top, great. If Kismet Casa decides to build a fee on top, great. We can push artists in those communities to the specific clients while still keeping the shared protocol free. Matt, do you have any thoughts? Have you thought about it anymore, or any notes you want to give to Luciano to help him think through fees?
I haven't like figured out the technical specifics of it. But just generally how I think about it is like, first of all, with fees, like it's really important for not just for the platform, but for the artist. I mean, unless it depends on what the model, like in process is a different model, but for like a typical platform that needs to sustain, like it's actually bad for artists if the platform doesn't make any money at all, because if the platform doesn't have a way to survive, that's not good for anybody. So that's the first thing I want to say, because like I feel like fees are like everybody
Negative
having
connotation.
yeah, well, it's not like it's bad. Like it's good that is in process is 0 fees. Like I think that's a very good thing, and they've figured out a model for them that works like that. But it's not like I feel like artists like I don't think artists should necessarily be like, oh, the less fees a platform charges, the better, because they need the platform to succeed too, and platforms have to survive somehow. And then as far as implementation, I'm thinking about it as like a layer 2 on in process. So what probably is going to happen is there's going to be a like a middle contract that is going to call the mint from in process and then take the fee as well. And there's also some other things I'm gonna do in that around like staking and stuff. So yeah, I'm thinking about it as like a layer 2.
Tossing it over to CY, you got to see a little demo of what the Kismet client is looking like. You heard Luciano and Leia talking about what their vision is for FarCon Rome. Do you have any feedback on the client that they've built so far? Any questions for them to help them prepare for FarCon Rome?
I'm excited to see it in use, given sort of the use case that you described. I mean, this is a great way to document something in a sort of decentralized way. Excited for that. Excited to see if is there a culture of like airdropping things to people after things have happened as a sort of like a proof that I was there sort of activity. Like those are things that I think a lot about in terms of just creating etiquette and culture around people who are with each other. How does the on-chain sort of artifacts from that end up playing a part in their mutual narratives? And then building UI in support of that. And it's probably early right now, but as these sort of like on-chain, off-chain things sort of like that, the next wave of them come to fruition where everyone's already kind of like literate in what's possible with things on chain. I'm super curious about how the UIs end up creating the etiquette that helps people like both mint and airdrop things to each other, so that there's this sort of mutual proof of that they were there.
Good point, actually. The most common thing we've seen in the past is artists within the residency airdropping to the other residents, something that they created, just because that is very important to them, that everyone that they've been living with, experiencing this with, gets to showcase and collect their art without necessarily having to do it at a mint price. Sometimes doing it at a mint price as well. But I think like this is the affordability that and accessibility that Sweetman has provided. And this is why we're so excited to build on in process, whether there's a referral fee or not. Honestly, to us, like this is something that we've been trying to build for a very long time. So like whether we integrate or implement a referral fee or make it sustainable from our own pockets or not does not make a difference to us. It's something that we're definitely going to be doing either way. And well, the way that you explained it, Sweetman, does make a lot of sense. And I think like in process not having the referral fee makes it a lot easier for people like Matt or I to think about how we could build a fee structure on top, but it also doesn't sort of box us into anything that already exists. So like now that you explain it like that, it has me thinking maybe we just don't do a referral fee at first, and we just try and full send it as a free service. But as Matt said, that can have varying pros and cons. I think like for someone like Matt, it does make a lot of sense to start with their own fee structure and have that level of flexibility and build more mechanism around it. And just the fact that like we both can build on in process, and either way is it goes to show how incredible you are, Sweetman. And thanks again for forking Zora for us all.
Thank you for the words of affirmation. We've got about 4 minutes left. Matt, you've been invited to the call, and I don't want this time to have been wasted time for you. Yesterday, we were talking about what the next ideas could be for the radio, and you had asked me a couple questions, and I kind of threw up my hands and said, I build the thing, but I kind of leave the direction up to CY and Latasha. And so now you've got an opportunity to talk to CY to kind of fill in any directions you want to go on the radio. Do you have questions or dialogue you want to have with CY to help you have more clarity on where you're going to be building with your radio client moving forward?
Well, I'd be curious, CY, like, I'm curious just generally about, like, you talked about it a little bit. You said some things about like attribution on chain, and like you mentioned like proof of your story, or I don't remember your exact words, but I'm just curious like what your general philosophy is for in process, why you're interested in it, what you want to accomplish with it.
Yeah, we'd love to talk about that. So I think of, in process creates the layer of artifacts that allows for the storytelling for the finished product. Like we come from a culture of like the shrink wrap product is what everyone experiences and sort of like centers on when they think about music. When the fact of the matter is that is the product of like, tens, hundreds, thousands of hours of actual work being done. And that work is what is invisible, yet is often the most interesting part of how a story, how a final product comes to be. So I wanted in process to be the sort of like visible, invisible layer where the people who know to look can find the artifacts of how something got made. But for everyone else, it's not the sort of like social validation driven game of like, who's got likes, who's got views and things of that nature that maybe work fine for a finished product, but for anyone who wants to be vulnerable about what it is like to actually make the thing, like not have exposure to the general public with. So in process is meant to be this sort of like private semi. It's like having a notebook that is available for the people who know that it's there to go flip through to see like, oh, what are the sketches that you made leading up to that final thing, without making the notebook the thing.
So does that mean you kind of envision a typical artist, the way they would use in process is using in process as the document of the creation, but the final creation, when it's polished and done, you envision that going somewhere else or on in process as well?
I think the final thing can go wherever it best serves its audience. Like maybe it ends up on, cross-posted to YouTube and Instagram, and maybe there's physical companion product, and maybe it's on Bandcamp. Like the final product needs to find people who want to assert their evaluation of it so that, they or whatever, whether it's like social value or capital value, it's like that the final product, there's already a way for those to live its life. In process is a home for the messy middle. And I think the other beautiful thing about in process is, in a world where LLMs can sort of like scrape to make stories from places where it knows those artifacts exist, you can get, assertions on like these artifacts are from the artists themselves when we tell the story about how these things were made.
This is why I love the name In Process, because at the end of the day, like, this is a mechanism for storytelling. And whether you use it for that specifically or use it retroactively for that or however, it doesn't really matter. But it allows to create the artifacts for that storytelling, like you said.
Yeah. It's a home for those artifacts. And ultimately, I think artists will be visible by their body of work. And whether that artist is still creating art or whether maybe they've passed, like the most accurate rendition of like this person's creative life is a combination of the things that were published into understood shrink wrap mediums, but also the stuff on chain that represents their process.
I love this term artifact y'all are using. It's like kind of, I don't know if I've ever heard it used in this context, but it makes so much, it's like an old like Roman artifact. Like nobody's like, okay, but what's the point? Why do I care about that? It's like, it's an artifact. Is it like, it's a
history.
it's a very good word to use here.
Yeah. And you know, frankly, we've paid archaeologists in the past to make cultural judgments. And if we in this current time know that we are leaving behind things that people will understand were part of what we were doing, let's lean into that. Let's make it intentional to leave behind things that are going to be the ghosts of our creative process, right? And I think of In Process as sort of like a rendition of that idea.
Well, this is also what we were being sold with Zora as well, like a level of provenance, right? And like the fact that that almost doesn't exist anymore, or people don't feel like it exists anymore, is the problem. And it doesn't matter whether we're using like IPFS, Arweave, et cetera. Like we need something sustainable that like we can all agree on will exist in 3 to 5 to 10 to 20 years, because that is the purpose of what we're building here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to jump over to the official In Process call that is not live streamed. Thank you, Mr. Matt Lee, for building out the radio. Thank you, Luciano and Leah, for building out Kismet Casa client. Looking forward to FarCon Rome. Thank you all for tuning in.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you. Muchas gracias.